We will start, if you would, Lou, please, with a roll call.
Freeholders, Actor.
Here.
Bartlett.
Here.
Best. Duffy. James.
Here.
Deputy Director Lapore.
Here.
Director Lazare.
Here. And the announcement of the open public meeting law.
Public notice, take notice, the Passaic County Board of Children Freeholders on January 6, 2020, adopted resolution number R-2020-0001, which calls for the location of the conference and regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 27th. Due to the state of emergency, the public health emergency declared by the New Jersey Governor Philip Murphy, set forth in Executive Order 103, and further limitations on public gatherings set forth in Executive Order 104, the board will hold the regular meeting virtually via Facebook Live and Cisco WebEx. Additionally, pursuant to Administrative Order 20-01 issued by the Passaic County Administrator, closing the administration building to non-essential personnel and public effective March 18, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. The board is canceling the conference agendas for this meeting and shall hold the regular meeting at 5:30 with no members of the public physically present as authorized under NJSA 10:4-12A. If a member of the public wishes to place a public comment on record, please email public@PassaiccountynJ.org stating your name, address, and matter to be addressed by the board no later than October 27th, 2020 at 5 p.m. or by participating in Facebook Live at www.facebook.com/Passaic County NJ/. The clerk of the board shall read the same into the public record. Moreover, some members of the board may participate telephonically and pursuant to the board's bylaws and in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12-1 et sec. Official action will be taken.
Thank you, and we can do the invocation.
O God, who provides for thy people by thy power, and rules over them in love, be gracious enough to bless thy servants, our freeholders in the county of Passaic, that thy people may dwell in peace and safety through our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. And Freeholder Duffy, you want to lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the
to
flag
the flag
of the United
United
States
States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice
For all.
for all.
Thank you. And a moment of silence to remember all the men and women who have served and died in the armed forces. And I would just like to recognize one of our former team members, Danny Raymond, who was in the Buildings and Grounds Department for many, many years, who just passed away recently. And please keep his family in our prayers. Thank you. A motion to approve the minutes of October 13th, 2020.
I'll move it.
Second.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best, Duffy, James,
Yes.
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazare.
Yes. Freeholder reports. I guess I'll start. As you all know, Tuesday's election day. I encourage everyone to please go out and vote. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, there are ballot boxes in everyone's town. And there's 2 each in Wayne, Patterson, Clifton, and Passaic. This is your right to go out and vote, and we look forward. And the county clerk's office is open late for the next few nights, and it's going to be open on Saturday. So if you have a problem with your ballot, please make sure you go there. You will be helped. Just, be patient because there are a lot of people going. But Tuesday's election day, a week from today. Freeholder Lepore.
Thank you, Director. There are 17 resolutions on the agenda generated by my Public Works Committee, and they're all pretty self-explanatory. And I asked a support of the Freeholder Board for those resolutions. I also have a question, Director. Maybe
Okay.
Mr. DeNova can answer. You mentioned
Sure.
the ballot boxes.
Yep.
Are they going to stay there year-round?
Yeah, our intentions right now, because they're bolted into the ground, Freeholder, is that they would remain there permanently.
Good. And I was discussing with Freeholder Bartlett. He brought up an interesting point. Is there any way we can secure the boxes, keep them, some mischief makers from stuffing things in there? Or?
Yeah, I believe that they can be locked. I'm not 100% certain, but yes, that is something that we have thought about.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Director.
Oh, thanks for asking that question. That was a great question. Freeholder Octor.
I don't have anything to report. I do want to ask on the drop boxes to our county administrator. I'm pretty sure I know the answers, but I thought I'd double check here. If someone drops a ballot off on election day in a drop box, that makes no difference, correct?
Correct. The boxes, just like a polling place, will be open till 8 o'clock. So if anyone is online, right, at 8 o'clock, they'll be allowed to drop their ballot off. But just like a polling place, once 8 o'clock hits, they would not let anyone else in the polling place, but anyone in the polling place would be allowed to vote. So in this case, if you're online at 8 o'clock, if there is a line, they'll be allowed to vote, but no one after 8 o'clock.
Perfect. And that just as a reminder, as a piggyback off that, anybody who thinks that they want to wait to election day to vote because they really want to vote in a booth, you will not be allowed to vote in a booth unless you have special needs. If you go to vote at your polling place, which you're allowed to do, which is certainly okay, but I don't think most of us would recommend it. But if you want to do it that way, you're going to be voting on paper as a provisional ballot, the same as you would if you fill in an absentee ballot. You will not be voting in the booth on election day unless you have special needs. So for those who might be waiting to election day because they enjoy voting in a booth, unfortunately this year because of the coronavirus, that's not really possible. So encourage you to vote early and get your vote into the ballot box before Tuesday.
Freeholder Octor, the only addition to that would be someone could drop off their ballot on election day at the polling places, but you cannot bring anyone else's ballot. So it was only your own ballot. You can't bring someone else's ballot and drop it into the.
Yeah, and from what I had heard from the state, they don't particularly want to encourage people. You can, but they don't particularly want to encourage people to bring it to a polling place. Because that's, it's preferred that you drop it at a ballot box. And quite honestly, you won't have to wait in a line or worry about anybody at a polling place, at a drop box. And we have 3 in Patterson and 1 in every other municipality in Passaic County, correct?
Correct. We have a ballot box, and I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm fairly certain we're the only county that has 1 box in every of its municipalities, 2 in the large, and actually 3 in Patterson because the executive order requires a ballot box at the community colleges. So we put an extra box at the community college as well. So there's actually 3 in Patterson, 2 in Clifton, 2 in Passaic, 2 in Wayne, and then 1 each in the remaining municipalities.
Fantastic.
Does the community have a question through you, Director?
Sure.
I'll piggyback on Assad's question. The community college in Wanacue, does that get one, and the borough of Wanacue gets one?
No, right now only the community college in Patterson has one.
But they
Okay,
can't drop
Which is,
it.
again, I'd have to go back and look at the wording, but I believe it's just the community college has to have a box. I don't think if you have multiple campuses that each one of those have to have a box.
thank you.
So
Wanacue
there's
actually,
Wanacue Municipal Building and that's all for Wanacue.
and then the county clerk's office in Wanacue, they can drop them off, correct?
They can go, I don't know if they could drop them off there, and I don't want to speak for the guy. I don't believe that they can, Director.
They can get a ballot there. They can get a ballot there if they didn't get one, but they can't drop it off there. They have to go to the election board.
Freeholder James is correct. So they can go on Saturday. I believe they had 200 people at the Wanacue location getting, or either they made a mistake, they misplaced it, they didn't get it, and they had over 200 people in Wanacue. And the county clerk too has done a great job in making sure that, you know, every resident has the opportunity to vote if they wish.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that. Freeholder Bartlett.
I feel like we're kind of having one long conversation here, but I agree with you, Anthony. Our county clerk, Danielle Ireland Imhoff, as well as our Board of Elections are doing an exceptional job. I'm here at the county building. I was downstairs earlier. During the lunch hour, the staff of the county clerk's office let me know they do actually have a line form for voting. The wait was about half an hour today during lunch hour, but for most of the rest of the week, and that is 8:30 to 4:30 here at 401 Grand Street, and with different hours up in Wanacue. Staff are available. You can come in, get a ballot, vote it privately and securely right there and turn it in. I think it's really terrific, the number of different ways we're able to vote with the all vote by mail system that we have, dropping in the US mail, dropping in the drop boxes, and then all the hours that the county clerk is providing. So there's no excuse not to vote. I want to applaud the clerk and her team, the superintendent of elections and her team, and the Board of Elections for all that they're doing right now. 7 days left. I have to confess, I haven't turned in my wife's ballot yet. That's on the to-do list, but make your voice heard, and just want to echo what everybody else is saying and add my praise for our team as well as for the poll workers that are going to be at those polls on election day for people with the special needs to go into and vote with the machine, as well as for people who choose to go out and vote a provisional ballot that day. For folks who are expecting to go to your regular polling place, note that because of the smaller number of people expected at the polls this year, there's a limited number of polling places. You can visit njelections.org, which is the state of New Jersey's elections portal. Enter your address and you can find out where your polling place in your town is going to be on November 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Freeholder Best.
A very simple day. Please go vote.
Good message. Freeholder Duffy. Duffy?
Yes, Director, can you hear me?
Yes.
6 resolutions in front of you from planning. I expect it to pass through without a problem. And that's about it. Go out and vote. Vote early and often. Thank you.
Thank you. And Freeholder James.
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat what everybody said about our clerk. Danielle Ireland Imhoff has done absolutely incredible job. And anybody who wants to vote, who didn't get a ballot, she's reaching out to them and making sure that if they want a ballot, they can come in and get one. It's a little late to be mailing things at this point. But she's making sure anybody who wants to vote can vote and has the privilege of voting and gets it done. And she's an amazing person. We're very lucky to have the team in place that we have, and they're all doing their job spectacularly. So we're confident that anybody in Passaic County who wants to vote is going to be able to vote, and it's secure and safe, and we're just happy with it. So go vote if you haven't.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our Dr. Gungel and your report.
Hey, Director, and again, I apologize through you if I may. I just have one thing to report and make part of the public record. The county recently went out and sold $35 million worth of bonds, 15 years, for a total interest cost of 1.85%. which is again, in part due to the climate that we're in, and as well as our bond rating. And we also sold $18,480,000 in notes for a net interest cost of, and listen closely, 0.34% of 1%. So, obviously the long-term borrowing is very favorable for counties and municipalities at the moment, and we've taken advantage of that as well. So,
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that was part of the record.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Dr. Gungil, we're ready for you.
Good evening, everyone. So here I am again, Micah. This continues with us today. Next slide. Today is day 228 since COVID came into Passaic County. We have now 20,685 cases and 1,120 residents have died in Passaic County due to COVID. Next slide, please. We remain in the top 5 in cases. As a matter of fact, over the last 9 days, we averaged over 83 cases per day. The last 5 days, we had about almost 600 cases. So the cases are definitely increasing in Passaic County, and it is a concern, and we'll talk about that some more later. Next slide, please.
Dr. Gungil,
Yes.
fair to say cases are increasing throughout the state, not just Passaic County.
Correct.
Thank
So throughout the state, throughout the country, right, throughout the world, in Passaic County, every municipality is seeing more cases, even if it's one case after maybe 5 or 6 weeks with no cases. And in the larger municipalities, we're seeing cases in the tens. So it's things have changed. This slide that you're looking at is the cumulative incidence one, and you can see that we're actually Union County and Hudson County are now approaching our load of cases. For example, I believe a day last week, Union County had over 100 and so cases in one day. Bergen had, I think, 200 or 300 cases in one day. But again, because Bergen has the population, their cumulative incidence is still lower in comparison to Passaic County. But we still are carrying a heavy load due to COVID-19. Next slide, please. All right, this is what we call the epi curve, and you've been seeing that the entire time. It shows you what the whole pandemic looks like in Passaic County. And if you look to your far right, you will see the cases are increasing. It's a little bump. It looks small in comparison to where we were. So we broke that out. And the next slide, Micah. In the next slide, we broke out the last 2 months, September and October, to show you what that looks like. On your left is the cases in Passaic County for the last 2 months. If you look at it by itself, so you can see a definite increase in cases. On the right is something that it's probable cases. So for whatever reason, it's not added in the total right now, but even those cases are increasing. And that could be people who were tested, with a rapid antigen test, which we don't count in our confirmed cases. But if we were to combine that, the numbers would look larger. Next slide, please. All right, so the breakdown is similar as it has been. Approximately half of the population of cases is 50% male, 50% female in that range. Again, adults are the ones affected. You see the 30 to 49, and this has been the case throughout. 50 to 64, leading, and then 18 to 29. Next slide, please. Broken out by ethnicity. Again, this has looked the same for the last few months, but it's just, to let you see what it looks like in terms of who is affected by COVID-19. Next slide, please. By the way, this is only for the ones for whom we have that data, because everyone does not check off that data in their paperwork. Next slide, please. So this slide looks at the COVID confirmed deaths. Again, male are most likely to die from COVID than are female. And on the right, you can see that the older adults are still more affected than the younger adults. So we're seeing more cases now in younger adults, but we're not seeing deaths. Next slide, please. All right, long-term care facilities, we're seeing some outbreaks. Currently, there are 8 outbreaks in Passaic County long-term care facilities. There are 134 residents who have COVID, who have tested positive, and 106 staff members who have tested positive, but thankfully there have not been resident or staff deaths currently. Next slide, please. All right, this is a busy slide, but it has a lot of information. I think the very bottom is a really interesting piece, and that is how is Passaic County doing in terms of testing the residents of Passaic County. And again, this slide represents all testing sources in Passaic County or of Passaic County residents. So they could be tested elsewhere, but their data is recorded as a Passaic County resident. And you can see in the far bottom right corner, 29% of our residents have been tested for COVID-19. Another interesting fact on this slide, and I show this slide so that, you know, whichever town you're from or whoever is listening, they can see what their town looks like. North Hilden is continuing to lead. 41% of the residents of North Hilden have tested for COVID. And that's by far the highest number. I believe Patterson is next with 35% of the population being tested for COVID-19. We do have some work to do with Prospect Park, with 14% of residents being tested. Next slide, please. All right, so this slide is an interesting slide. And the reason is because it tells you what is going on with percent positivity. So currently, over the last couple of days, our percent positivity is 5.1%. But when you, I can't show it to you because the slide is not active on my end, but if you look around June or July, you would see it was around like 2 point, yeah, thanks. It should show about 2.77% or so. So over the last few months, especially at the end of summer, you see a gradual increase in percent positivity, which is the thing that is concerning to us. Next slide, please. All right, our at-home testing program continues. Again, Wayne continues to be the municipality most represented by people using this way of testing, followed by West Milford and Patterson. Next slide, please. Mobile testing continues throughout the county. The last week, we had testing on Thursday and Saturday, and on one day we tested 449, another day 452. So we're seeing an increase in people testing, and that could, be because A, we're seeing more cases within the school system. B, people are concerned as they see numbers increasing throughout the world, so they want to understand what's going on. But our testing sites are getting a lot of traction right now. Next slide, please. All right, and usually, again, I try to end with this slide, which is wash your hands, cover your cough, clean and disinfect, and wear your face covers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gunghill. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, through you, Director. Dr. Gunghill, it's no secret that there's a narrative out there pushing the fact that, and I've heard it myself through individuals around, that they really don't believe that the virus is as dangerous as it was back in March. they believe the narrative that we've quote unquote turned the corner. My question is, even though positive cases have gone up, how do you respond to people say, yes, but hospitalizations and deaths have gone down dramatically or haven't matched that of earlier this year? How do you respond to that?
So I think the answer is twofold. First of all, Michael, could you show us the slide, the epi curve slide, to answer that question? So if you look at the epi curve slide, we will see that earlier in the year, no, the other one, keep going back. Go back. This one. So you could see on this slide that earlier in the year, we were topping 500 cases in a day, right? So if you compare that to now, where we're, I think the highest one we've had recently is 110 cases, which we had yesterday. We are nowhere near where we were. So we really can't compare the hospitalizations now with at that time. And at that, in addition, they're incorrectly saying that we're not seeing a lot of cases in the hospitals, because we are. The cases are increasing in the hospital. So I think we're going to start to see, some more deaths. But here are some other things that have happened over the last 8 months. One, the physicians have seen and have tried different treatments for individuals. So now they have a better idea of how to treat people with COVID-19. Secondly, we're seeing younger patients. As children go back to school, we're seeing those children contracting COVID. And as we know, for them, the symptoms are mild. In some cases, they're asymptomatic. So it's a different population profile that is being affected right now. And with that, and with the science that we have, it's going to look different. It's never going to look the same. But the virus is still very dangerous. People who have underlying health conditions are still at great risk. And, we've done a lot with the face coverings. We've done a lot with social distancing. And so now I think that people are getting COVID fatigue. And so they're just becoming more laissez-faire in how they approach it. But, I don't think that that it would be a fair assessment to say that because things are managed better now because of lessons learned earlier, that it means that we're in a good place. So that's my answer to your question.
So to sum it up, it's a combination of doctors learning better treatment methods, the fact that the public, most of the public anyway, has embraced the preventative measures such as mask wearing and constant washing of the hands and social distancing, and that has contributed to the smaller number of deaths as compared to the beginning of the year.
I think so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Director, if I might, Doctor, let me ask you this. There's a rumor out there, if you had it once, that you have the antibodies in you and you're immune to it. Is there any truth to that, or no, it's just one of those rumors flying around?
So I don't think we have had enough time. So generally, yes, when you have when you're exposed to a microorganism and you get well, your body's response, which is what is an antibody, that's your body's response to fight off that organism. Yes, you will have that. But what we don't know is how long is that going to last? And does that so how long will that quote unquote immunity be? And we don't know yet because this is still new. So it's uncharted territory. So we really can't say that we'll never get it again. We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're doing a great job there, Doctor. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Dr. Dunhill, let me just ask if I know that what you're saying in terms of increased cases at hospitals, and we know that there is a delay in terms of when the spread happens and when the hospitalizations happen. It's not one-to-one. You don't contract the virus and then end up in the hospital. There's a delay, and so I know that our medical leadership and personnel and everybody are hoping and praying that it'll be a slower increase than before, that it won't go up as quickly or as dramatically as it was earlier in this year. So we hope and pray that that's the case. But let me ask, in terms of our very vulnerable seniors and the senior homes in the county, have you seen any change or indication that those cases are going up?
So we do have 8 active outbreaks, and it is concerning because there were a couple of months where there were no cases. But here again is where the lessons learned have really helped us, right? So now, because of what happened earlier in the year, the long-term care facilities are responding very quickly, very decisively by cohorting sick individuals with other sick individuals, making sure that staff members who go to those patients are appropriately PPE'd, all of the daily temperature checks and all of the things that have been put in place have actually continued to protect our more vulnerable residents. And again, I think that's why people feel so, that things are back to normal. They're not. When this began, there was not sufficient PPE to protect people. We didn't have all the things in place, from temperature check to if you're sick, stay home. All of these things that we've put in place are working. And so people are getting, comfortable. But we have gotten to this place because we were diligent in the way that we responded to COVID. And we have to continue the diligence until we have a vaccine that is approved.
Thank you for that information. I think you're right in terms of preparation, in terms of PPE, all these things. We're ahead of it as last time where we were trying to catch up. And also, just quickly, any indication that the schools being, even though most schools are going to virtual learning or part-time virtual learning, any indication that either the higher education or primary education that there's any outbreaks related to that?
So we do have several outbreaks in some schools. We have a number of, I think we have up to 8 schools in Passaic County that I know of that are closed due to COVID. And the instructions from the Department of Education is that if there are 2 unrelated cases of COVID, that the school is to close. So right now, 8 schools are on virtual because of cases. Again, thankfully, the 2 largest school districts in Passaic County opted not to reopen. And so that's a good thing because we would have had more transmission there. I believe Clifton has a really great website. Their Board of Ed has a great website that tells you which schools, how many students are affected, how many staff members are affected, when they're, how long they've been on quarantine and when they're going to reopen. And so I think, all of these things contribute to what's going on in Passaic County. And so I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gunghill, for a strong report as always. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No? Okay. So we'll move on. Can I have a motion to open the oral portion of the meeting?
I'll move it. Second.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
West.
Yeah.
Duffy. James,
Yes.
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazare.
Yes. What is that background noise?
Don't know.
Can everybody mute that if you're not speaking, please? Do we need a minute?
Yes, Director.
Okay.
Director, as of right now, we have no comments. There's also no comments through public@Passaic.org email address.
Should we give it a minute?
I think that would be helpful because there is a little bit of a lag with Facebook Live.
Okay. All right.
I'll move to close the public portion.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
James,
Yes,
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazar.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Yeah, Jordan, do we have any late starters?
Yeah, Director, through you, I have a few changes that need to be made.
Okay.
First, K10 needs to be pulled off the consent agenda. I was hoping we would get a document we needed to include it. We didn't get it. I'll list it at the next meeting. K43, the certification of funds needs to be amended to reflect $7,266.59, which is the amount that we're paying. And then
Matt, I'm sorry, what's that? What's that one that you said?
K43, the certification
okay.
of funds just needs to be amended to reflect $7,266.59.
Thanks.
And then finally, the late starter is K57, resolution authorizing Environmental Contracting Inc. for services to be formed on behalf of the Passaic County Prosecutor's Office pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-3 et sec. That's all. Just my,
Freeholders, that late starter has to do with old evidence that was left in 317 Pennsylvania Avenue, which, as you know, we're set to auction off on December 3rd. So it's been sitting in the basement for quite some time, and we need to get it out of there.
Okay,
Director, I would just do my daily reminder if any freeholder has an item on the consent agenda that they want pulled, to just make a resolution or make a motion through you to do that.
anybody? No? All right. Do we have to vote on these separately, or can we vote on all three of them together? Like pulling K10, amending K43, and the late start of K57?
You can pull, we don't need a resolution on that.
Yeah, you can pull.
Okay.
Yep. So you've pulled K10. Yeah, you could do the other two together.
Okay.
I move the amendments as recommended by county council.
Okay. And can you move the late start of K57?
Add that to it.
Yes, both.
Move the late starter.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Terry.
Freeholder Bartlett.
Oh, I thought it was,
Yeah.
We look practically alike.
you do.
So we have this-
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
James,
Yes,
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazar.
Yes. So can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda K1 through K57 minus K10?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
I had Freeholder James making the motion and Freeholder Lapore seconding.
Correct.
Freeholders, Actor, Freeholder Actor,
Yes.
Freeholder Bartlett,
Yes.
Freeholder Best.
Yeah.
Freeholder Duffy,
Yes.
Freeholder James,
Yes,
Freeholder Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazar.
Yes. Can I have a motion to move the personnel agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best.
Yeah.
Duffy,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazare,
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the bills list?
Move the bills list.
Second.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best. Duffy,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Deputy Director Lapore,
Yes.
Director Lazare,
Yes. And finally, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Director, just a reminder to everybody that the next meeting is on a Monday, November 15th.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
November 16th.
Like
At
I said,
5:30.
November 16th.
For everybody in the office, just hang back 1 second. I got a gift for you. I come bearing gift. Hang back 1 second.
Awesome.
Can I eat it?
But I can't.
At least look at it before you ask that question.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, you can drop mine on the way home, right?
Move to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
I second it.
Second.
Freeholders, Actor,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Deputy Director Lapore,
Oh, yeah.
Director Lazare.
Yes. All right. Good night, everyone. Be
Good
safe.
night.
Good night.